Good evening. Happy Tuesday. Welcome in to everyone. It's Bible class time. It's Rock Recharge this evening. Excited about what we have happening this evening. Come on in. Good evening. Happy Tuesday, Sister Ayana. I pray that everyone has had an amazing Tuesday. Hey, Sister Lenore, our Rock Nation family. Hello, Sister Cookie. Faithful Sister Cookie. Good evening to you. Hey, Sister Tashari. Good evening. More Rock Nation. I see y'all. Thank y'all for being here this evening. I hope everyone had an amazing day. It's such beautiful weather here in sunny California. We're excited about it because we didn't have good weather. We was having serious wintertime here. So just grateful to have some good weather now. Good evening, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor. I appreciate that. Good evening, Deaconess Janice. Hello. Hello, Miss Chanel. Hey, Sister Amanda. We are praising our God for the great God that He is in your life, your husband's life, your whole family. We just praise God for that. All right. This has been an amazing month. I agree, Pastor. We are in our Flourish Her series. It is, we're focusing on the family. And this month we've been focusing on the women and the men who love them. We have been having such a great time, an amazing time in our worship experience. Our pastor has been preaching the paint off the walls. We've been getting equipped and empowered during these special recharge series where we've just been learning about our relationships. We've been learning about the Bible. And this week we are going to learn about our money. And I am so excited about it. So let's have a word of prayer. God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you so much for this opportunity, God, to just learn more from you. God, we consider it an honor and a privilege anytime we are able to gain knowledge that will empower us and impact our lives and cause us to live in a way that brings glory to your name, God. So we pray right now in the name of Jesus that you would enter in and have your way, invade this virtual space, God, and let it be edifying unto your people, God. Let it inspire, encourage, and empower them to walk in all that you have created for them to have. We love you, we bless you, we honor you. In Jesus' name, amen. Welcome to you, Pastor Pitts. We're excited, and everyone that is joining us. Good evening, good evening. I see all of you. Listen, we have such an amazing time in store this evening, and I am so excited that we have with us tonight Lady Kina Pitts. Can we just give her a great rock recharge welcome? Good evening to you, Lady Pitts.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Thank you so much for being with us. And I just want to take a moment. I must take a moment to read your bio because it is so impressive. I consider you to be a sister in the Lord, but you are a real boss. So, Lady Kina Pitts is a banking and fintech C suite executive. She's a certified master coach. She is an award winning, industry recognized, and accomplished business executive. She has over 20 years of experience in executive risk and compliance. She does financial services. She also excels in corporate training, public relations, and media. She does product and service development for multiple corporations, small and large nonprofit organizations, and Fortune 500 companies. She is a keynote speaker. Let me tell you something. I was almost hesitant to even ask her just because of her extensive resume. Like, this woman of God goes all over the world, not the country, all over the world. She speaks fluently in banking and fintech, personal finance, professional development, executive coaching, diversity, equity and inclusion, leadership development, and corporate social responsibility. And she is an emerging voice that is sought after right now in the banking and fintech governance, risk, and compliance executives. Here's what I love about her. She says that she is here to educate underbanked and underrepresented groups from financial deficiency to financial fluency. Can you just go crazy in the chat right there? If she don't open up her mouth, her resume is enough for us to honor and celebrate her and thank her so much for being with us this evening. We are so extremely grateful. You need to like and share this, because I believe that Lady Pitts is about to really drop some knowledge on us. And I think that everyone should have this available to them. Lady Pitts, a lot of times people want to know, why do we talk about money in church? Aren't we supposed to just be focusing on spiritual things? And aren't we just supposed to be focusing on how we can grow closer to God? But I believe that sometimes we have a hard time praising God because we don't have any money. Sometimes we're so focused on how are we going to pay this bill? How are we going to take care of this? Because we're horrible managers of our money. And if nothing else, the Bible says that money answers all things.
All things. All things.
Ecclesiastes chapter number 10, money answers all things. And then it also says that God wants us to prosper.
That's right.
In all things, prosper and be in good health. So I think we need to talk about this topic of money. And so I wanted to start out just opening it up to you and understanding how you have allowed your space in the secular world to just kind of merge in the Christian arena, and how you're helping people in that way.
Absolutely. Listen, I am incredibly honored to be with you all tonight. Listen, talking about my favorite topics, one of my favorite topics, money, with my favorite people, God's people. I am so passionate about helping God's people become good stewards, and being a good steward of money. It's beyond budgeting, right? Being a good steward is about leveraging opportunities to multiply your three T's: your time, your talent, your treasure.
Yeah.
Budgeting is about maintaining, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight because it's a necessary first step. But the rest of our conversation is about becoming a good steward, learning how to protect and how to multiply what God has given to us. So I count it an absolute privilege to be able to sit at the tables that I sit at, to sit in the boardrooms, making decisions, creating policy for our people the way that I'm able to. I understand that there are not many faces in the room, if any, that look like mine. So I count it just an absolute honor to be able to do this, to take what God has allowed me to sit at the table to receive in the marketplace, and then come back to the kingdom to tell God's people what's happening in the marketplace. That's my point of intercession. That's my call in this life. It's ministry and it's marketplace, but marketplace happens to be part of my ministry. And so again, when you reached out to me, it was an absolute no-brainer. I made sure that my schedule was clear because, like I said, I am honored to be here with you. I absolutely adore you and your husband, your Rock City Family Church. Listen, I'm honored just to be here with you all tonight. So I'm ready to get into it.
Yes, let's get into it. And tell us about your church, because Lady Pitts, I don't want to forget that you are a pastor's wife, and Pastor Pitts is on here. So please shout your church out and welcome anybody that's here from your church as well.
Yes, they sent out a big, huge flock note earlier. So to all of our people, I am here tonight representing, in addition to this role, my main thing, my husband, Pastor Jonathan Pitts, JG Pitts. He's the pastor. I am the executive pastor, first lady, leading lady of Regeneration Church in Alabaster, Alabama. We're in Shelby County. And that's where our people are tonight. So welcome. Thank you all for the welcomes. I see everything going on in the chat, and welcome to our people. It's 9 o'clock, but these people roll with us here. So
Yeah.
I'm excited and I'm proud of them.
I love it. Awesome. Welcome to you all. So let's start out because sometimes we want to jump into how do I budget? What do I do with retirement? But your mind is all jacked up and you're not ready for that kind of information. Can we start out with how do we first start out with figuring out how to get our mindset and our relationship with money under control?
Absolutely. So let me start here. I'm going to back up just a little bit and I'm going to roll right into that. I want to share something with you all before we really get into all of the nuts and bolts of everything. So much has happened in our economy just this year, but even more broadly, over the last 20 years. Since 2001, we have had 563 bank failures in this country alone. 563 banks have closed their doors. More than half of those happened during 2009 to 2010 during the Great Recession that was fueled by the mortgage crisis. Mostly impacted were small and medium-sized regional banks. Then just this year, 2023, we opened up the year in the first quarter and we've had our second and third largest bank collapses. And another one that just announced last week that's getting ready to shutter its doors within the next 30 days. So just in the not even 2 full quarters of the year, we've got maybe potentially 3 of the largest bank failures to happen in our nation in the last 3 or 4 decades. So first we've got Silicon Valley Bank. And then we very quickly, within a week after Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank closed. So together, the Treasury Department, the Federal Reserve, the FDIC, all of them stepped in to guarantee that the bank members would have full protection with no responsibility to cover any losses. So why am I telling you this? The most recent failures were entirely unique in that the government decided to get involved to ensure every depositor received the entirety of their account balances. If you are familiar with the FDIC or you've read any of the disclosures at your bank or credit union when you've opened up an account, it tells you very clearly FDIC insurance is only guaranteed for maybe a handful of eligible account types and only up to $250,000 per depositor. Any penny over that, the government has no responsibility. The FDIC has no responsibility to refund or ensure it gets back to you in the event that your bank fails.
Wow.
That's not what happened with these 2 banks that closed. Every penny that these depositors had, the government stepped in to make sure that money got back to those depositors. And let me be clear, abundantly clear about the population of the people that stood to lose the billions of dollars between those 2 banks. Overwhelmingly, these were not people who look like you, and these were not people who look like me. These were people who were in the upper echelon of the entrepreneurial world. These are wealthy millionaires and a few billionaires that stood to lose all of their money. These were folks who created what we know today as Silicon Valley. These were the founders and leaders and executives of technology, especially fintech. These were people in businesses who, if allowed to fail, would most certainly tank the economy, not just of their respective states in California, in Oregon, in Washington, and a few of the neighboring states, but they would most assuredly take the rest of the US economy if the country allowed them to fail. So the country couldn't afford to allow these people not to be made whole, but that's not the case for most of us. So we're presented with a revelation and a call to action. The revelation is this: no one is coming to save us but us. No one is handing us a golden parachute but us. No one's working hard to protect our financial futures but us. No one's going to care more about your financial health, your financial well-being than you. The onus and responsibility to secure your financial future is on you. So the call to action that we're presented with is the mandate to make intentional choices to transform our relationship with money in
Yeah.
order to secure our financial future. And it's not enough to be financially literate. Literate just means you can read. You can read the disclosures. You can read the book. You can read the contract. But do you know how to interpret it? Do you know how to apply the terms and conditions? Do you know enough to work the system so that you don't have to work as hard? You can work smart and your
Yes.
money can work for you while you sleep. That's what it means to be financially fluent. Do you have money in places where you tell your money to go and grow without you having to lift a finger? Do you know the financial system to that level of fluency? And that's what my mandate is bringing us from a place of not just understanding, dollars and cents, cents, but dollars and cents, sense. Do we have good common banking, financial, economical sense? Do we have the financial acumen as a people to
Mm,
generate wealth? So
mhm.
that is the premise in terms of how to transform your relationship with money. And so you have to start there and understand, we'll talk a little bit about the relationship with money. How do we change our mindset? How do we change our relationship? Well, first, how do you feel about money? Money can be a very emotional topic for some people, right? So, what emotions come up when you think about money? Do you
Yes.
have a pattern of recurring thoughts that arise when you interact with money? Are there things in your life that have helped to bring you to where you are in terms of how you respond to money? So, there are a lot of factors that you have to consider. For us as a people, we're talking about culture. We're seeing right now in the NBA culture playing out as it relates to making bad decisions that are now going to impact an NBA player's money. We
Mhm.
don't know to what extent, but
Yep.
it's going to be an impact because of culture. So,
Yes.
culture is a factor, religion is a factor,
Mm,
gender is a factor, family is a factor, your childhood upbringing is a factor, education is a factor. All of these things play a role into how you relate to money. And so
mhm,
if you think about your childhood, just take a step back and you go back to your childhood, think about what that environment was for you.
mhm,
Your brains, it's said in research that our brains do the bulk of their development by the time we're 7 years old.
mm,
In our first 7 years of life, our brain is doing the most development. So it's no surprise that our outlook on money, including our money habits, are primarily set by the time we're 7.
mm.
So if you turn back the clock and think about your early childhood, what did you pick up on financially? Did
Wow.
you grow up in a household where money was a point of contention? As a
Mhm.
child, did you feel a sense of peace and security in your home when it came to money? Or did you feel anxiety and scarcity? Is that
Mm.
what your experience was? So, when the need for money arose, what was the attitude in your house? Was it that, hey, it's not a problem. We got it. Whatever you need, your parents can go get it. It's not a big deal. Or can you think back to your childhood and every time something came up that you needed money for, it was mental gymnastics
Wow.
just to be able to get up the gumption to tell your parents, I need something,
Wow.
because you knew that it was going to be something for them to have to contend with because money was not plentiful. There was not abundance in your house. So it was always a problem. So these are the factors that shape you
Mm,
into what your relationship is today in terms of money. And it's our financial habits. Many times they are primarily there to protect us psychologically. We don't realize that a lot of our habits are there to protect us. If your parents fought or expressed some level of anxiety about money all the time, it makes sense that your childhood brain said, okay, when I get old enough, I need to make sure I make a lot of money so I
yep.
don't have to argue about this. So I don't have to have this problem or this level of dysfunction in my life because of money.
Yep.
Or if you grew up in an environment or you live somewhere where name brands and luxury, things like that were important, right? So even now as an adult, you find yourself making decisions where you're purchasing things just because of the name brand, just because of what it's associated with. You can't afford it. Your bills aren't paid. You're still in debt. You have no
I need
savings.
kids.
but you still are trying to do everything you can. I got to go see Beyonce in the Beehive. You are willing to take out payday loans to get somewhere to
Woo!
see somebody who knows nothing about you, but your lights are about to be cut off. You have no gas in the car. Your insurance has lapsed. And if something happens to you,
My
God
God.
forbid, we're going to be on Facebook with a GoFundMe page. But psychologically, you're filling a void. Something has happened in your creation, in your journey to where you are as an adult. Now that you're making money, something's happened there, and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, but you're going for broke while doing it. And so we have to step back. We have to understand our relationship to money. We have to transform our minds. Be ye transformed, right? We can't conform to the world. We can't keep up with everything that we see. We need to renew our minds as it relates to money. And I
Mm,
see to everybody where you need to start with understanding very basically, what is money?
mm,
What is money? It's currency, right? Most of us think of it as currency that we exchange money for a good or service, right? It's purely
mm.
transactional. But money is more than transactional currency. Bible says, like you said already, money answers all things. So
Yes.
yes, money is currency for goods and services, but it's also currency for stability. It's
Mm,
currency for security. It's currency for opportunity. It's currency for solutions. The
mhm,
availability and access to money does not prevent all the things from happening, right? But
mhm.
it does allow you the freedom of being inconvenienced. When
Wow.
you have money, the inevitable, unfortunate things will still happen. However, you may be inconvenienced, but you're not insufficient.
Yes.
It's one thing to be inconvenienced. Inconvenience we can handle as long as we're not insufficient. And an inconvenience while you're insufficient is now a crisis.
Mm, wow.
So that's where you have to start pivoting your thinking with money. You need to have an honest conversation with yourself. You need to have an honest conversation with your spouse if you're married. You need to have an honest conversation with your intended, with your fiance if you're getting married. I advise you have this conversation before you're
Yes.
engaged to get married. You need to have an honest conversation with your children if you're a parent. If you're a parent, you need to have an honest conversation with your own parents if you're caretaking for them. You need to understand how you handle money, how you respond to money. And if your money is not where you want it to be, if your mindset is not healthy relating to money, if you don't know where to start, you need to start making intentional decisions to change and then seek the guidance and expertise of financial professionals.
Wow. I just want to sit here and just listen to you for the talk for the because you are helping me for sure. And I'm looking at the chat. You're helping everyone. And I think that it's so powerful because you just touched on probably the plight of every person growing up, because you didn't just say if you were someone that was poor growing up, but you also talked about if you had, you could get whatever you wanted and what that looked like. So I just think that's super powerful. And I hope that everyone would take the time to examine themselves and really understand, like you said, trace back and see back to 7 years old. What was that like and what was happening in the home? And so as we start to move into how we manage our money, and honestly, Lady Pitts, this is your area. I just want to let you go, right? Because we want to know, about budgeting and what that looks like, and how do we create one. Some people have never had one. Some people have one and they don't even use it, right? So can you talk to us a little bit about budgeting and saving and what that should look like?
Yeah, so let's talk about three budget types. Now,
Mm,
understand there are several budget types. They're as numerous as the stars are in some cases. There's not a one size fits all. If you don't have a budget already, I encourage you all do a little bit of research to determine what works best for you and your financial outlook.
mm,
But I'll give you kind of the top three that we see happening right now. The first is called a traditional budget. Very easy. A traditional budget is one of the simplest ones, one of the simplest types to use. It's probably the one that most people use to keep track of their income and expenses when they're first starting out with a budget. With this budget type, you subtract your monthly expenses from your monthly income. This accounts for all of your bills, debts, any payments that you're making, any expenses that you have. And then everything left over is considered to be extra money to spend or save or put additional payments toward debt. This method, it's very simple to compute. It gives you a good idea of how much extra money you have after paying for necessities. However, if you need more guidance or you need clearer goals, I would recommend a different type of budget that's a little more goal oriented.
Mm.
Again, this is good for people, maybe, they might be younger. You don't have a lot of big bills or expenses. You're just starting out, something like that. And you just need a good way to track, this is everything coming in, this is everything going out. And you have more left over than what's going out and not a lot of responsibility, perhaps. That's who I would recommend use that type of budget structure.
Mhm.
The next one is called 50-30-20 budget. 50-30-20. That budget is for people who want to portion their income in a very precise way. It's based on percentages of your income, your net income, giving you kind of a clear guide for where everything should go. So 50% goes toward necessary expenses. So all of your bills, your debt, your expenses, your groceries, all of the necessary stuff, right? 30% is what's counted for discretionary expenses. These things, of course, they're not necessities. Your streaming apps, all of your Netflix, your Hulus, all of the extra stuff, the handbag, the purse you got to have, all of that kind of stuff. So it says 30% of your net income can go towards your play money, your discretionary money. 20% is what would be allocated for savings and debt pay down. Generally, this is a good structure, particularly for the amount allocated for savings each month. However, it does allocate a large portion of your income as discretionary. And so this may not be ideal or sustainable if you're a new budgeter, or you need to save for large purchases, or you need to pay down significant debt. You're planning for college for children, or, a number of other things. But again, it is something that will work. It is a structure that it'll help put structure, give you some infrastructure to your financial situation.
Mhm.
But again, not one that it's not the top, but it is a very popular one. And again, I recommend this for people, again, who don't have a lot of expenditures. And so it's just an easy way to kind of come up with numbers. 20% of my income I'll put away, 30% I can spend on me, 50% I'll put, on all of my expenses. The last one is the zero-based budget. The goal of the zero-based budget is to get your income to equal zero. That doesn't mean you spend all of the money that you make. Instead, the goal of this budget is to give you a clear spot for every dollar you earn, whether that's to pay the electric bill or add to a savings bank account of some sort. This budget plan will break down everything you earn into a budget category, such as bills, credit card payments, groceries, savings. You allot your money as you see fit, but you just make sure every dollar has a purpose. In
Mm.
the end, you should have nothing left over. Once you've completely balanced that budget, there shouldn't be a dollar or penny that's unaccounted for. Everything should be accounted for. Most financial experts recommend this method today. As a matter of fact, my husband and I, we use this. We have a spreadsheet that lists all of our income as credits, list every bill or payment that we make as debits. It itemizes our mortgage, our children's tuition, cell phones, electric bill, insurance, every expense we have. And then it also lists our tithe, it lists our seed, because we know we're church people that are educated in our word. We know that those are two different things, right? Our tithe, our seed. That's also allocated on our spreadsheet. That's accounted for. Our budget, it also includes our groceries. If it's an expense, it is itemized on our sheet. In addition to that, we have cells that tell us after the bills are paid, this is the amount that's left over. After the tithe is returned, after the bill is paid, this is the amount that's left. So then what we do with that is, okay, once we paid all the bills, like I said, we've tithed, we've given, we've sown, all of that. Now we also have a portion of this spreadsheet where we talk about, this is the part we're going to allocate for discretionary income. This
Mm,
is the part we're going to allocate for savings. So you want a budget that not only identifies your income and expenses, but also your plan to tell your money where to go and
mm,
where to grow. And
mm.
that's the part that sometimes we miss. That's your savings, that's your retirement, that's your investments. All of that is included in a zero-based budget down to the very last penny every month. So if
Wow.
you're looking to truly itemize your income and expenses with granularity, to know precisely where your money is going and how true you are to staying within those goals, highly recommend the zero-based budget. But again, do the research, figure out what works best for your household. Because especially if you don't have anything, any budget is going to be better than no budget. You'll just start somewhere. And
Yes.
then as you go through your process, you'll find different tools, tricks, other methods of doing things that may work better for you.
Yes, I love that. First of all, I appreciate you breaking down the three different budgets because people are at different just levels of income, levels of experience with doing it. So I think that's so great. And then you're talking our language when you say tithe is return,
That's
right? Because if we're not tithers, then traditional 50, 30, 20, 0, you're not even ready for that. Just start tithing your money.
That's right. That's exactly right. We have, I trust you, God, with the 10. And
Yes.
now give me wisdom on what to do with the 90 that's left. And I
Yeah.
promise you, he can do more with your 10 than you can do with that 90. And so that's the basis for us. As for me and my house, we will worship the Lord. And that's exactly, we are faithful tithers. We can't wait to get paid so we can go get that money in the ground and return it. I don't like to hear people say pay tithes. We don't pay tithes, we return it
Come
to
on.
the storehouse.
Yes. Love it. Love it. Love it. So in terms of budgeting, are there some tools or resources that we could go to find out, or maybe we could just Google, but maybe sometimes, financial experts have like places where you can go and
Yeah,
like learn more about this.
absolutely. So I recommend people get familiar with the CFPB. That's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That is a government agency. And they offer a huge range of free tools to
Mm,
help you learn how to manage your money. All kinds of tools for every part of personal finances. They have spreadsheets, they have guides, they have handouts, they have loan comparison documents. Maybe you want to buy a car and you're trying to figure out, well, this interest rate at this amount versus this interest rate over here, what does that look like? They have tools for every part of your financial journey. And like I said, this is a government agency. Everything is free. So all you have to do is jump on their website. They have just a huge supply of everyday free resources. So no matter where you are in your journey, if you're looking to buy a car, if you're looking to buy a house, if you're wondering about retirement, if you just want to start with budgeting, if you've got questions about college savings, or I'm preparing, we have 3 children. So we're thinking about, okay, what are we putting aside for college? How are we planning for all of that? They have a tool, they have an app, they have a handout, they have a something for every single one of those. So all of that is completely free. And like I said, those are your tax dollars at work. Go take advantage of what's out there. And that's the CFPB. Another place I recommend is your online banking. Most banks, especially larger regional and national banks, typically have a pretty sophisticated online banking app with budgeting tools and credit comparison tools and several types of calculators for you to use for the same purpose. So check with your bank, check with the CFPB. Also, for more basic users, maybe you don't need a lot of sophisticated apps and all of that. I personally am a spreadsheet person myself.
mm,
Google Sheets has templates. Microsoft Excel has templates. Or if you like me, you just listen, you have a hybrid of everything. You created your own thing, and that's what works for us. But you can easily jump into any of those, and you can pull up a template there that you can customize to your taste. And then also, if you're looking for an app outside of your online banking, there are numerous things like Mint is one of the top ones that comes up for its MINT. That's a good personal budgeting app. For couples that are trying to do the budgeting situation together, there's an app called Honeydew, and
mm.
it's Honey, D-U-E,
Oh,
Honeydew. So that is an app I know about for couples who are looking to do the budget journey together. So again, you can look out there, you can Google an enormous amount of things. So there are a lot of tools at your disposal.
That's awesome. So our church is intergenerational, right?
Okay.
We have just a wide range of generations at our church. We have young families that are in their 30s, others are in their mid to late 40s. We also have very seasoned saints. And so, what would be some goals and benchmarks for these different age groups to become more financially free?
Definitely. So again, I highly recommend if you've not talked with a financial advisor, go do that like yesterday.
Mm,
And I know a lot of people say, I can't, I really can't afford that. I don't have anybody in my network like that. Yes, you do. If you have a bank account somewhere, if you have a branch somewhere, you can walk into your branch. They may ask you to set an appointment so they can make sure their people are in place to be able to service you. But you can walk into your branch and you can literally start having these conversations about what you need to do. Everybody's uh, financial situation is very unique to them. And
mm,
so I always advise get the professionals involved, get the people with degrees in finance, right, to sit down and talk with you about where you need to be. If you're an older person, I'm sure you're thinking about retirement. What do I need to retirement? How much should I have for retirement? What should I consider? If you're somebody that's just starting out, now is a good time to be thinking about retirement. If you might be thinking about how to finance college, if you're maybe a younger adult, you need to think about, those are those types of things. So the benchmarks are going to depend on what is the content of your life. What
mm,
are the values? What are the things that are important to you to be able to accomplish? Do
mm,
you want to retire early? Do you want to travel one day? Do
mm,
you want to go to college and do you want multiple degrees? Maybe you want a terminal degree.
mm,
Uh, so you want to find ways to finance that without having to take out student loans. Maybe in your personal situation, there are some health things that you need to consider. As you
mm,
get older, healthcare gets more expensive. So maybe you need to make sure that you're leveraging opportunities, perhaps with employers that you have today. Do you have health savings accounts? I can't tell people enough. Please take advantage of the free money that your employers give you. If you've got health savings account, if you've got flexible spending accounts,
yeah,
all of these things save you in tax dollars. They are good tax incentives and write-offs for you if you leverage them appropriately.
mm,
So when you think about in terms of benchmarks and where you want to be, it does really depend on where you are in life. What are the things that you still want to be able to accomplish? Are you in debt, and is being debt free something that's important to you? And
mm,
if you're not debt free, do you have debt that could potentially be passed on to loved ones should you pass away unexpectedly? So
mm.
you need to consider that as far as your financial outlook. What's happening while you're here, and what do you want to happen when you're no longer here?
That is so good. And since you bring up after we're gone, what do we do? Have we thought about that? And I think that's super important. It's one of the things that my husband is always constantly teaching us about making sure we have life insurance because I don't want to grieve you and be mad at you
At
because
the same time.
yeah, because you left me with debt and you're gone, right?
Right.
So, how do we, because, my life insurance as a single looks much different than my life insurance as a wife and a mother. So, how do we begin to plan around life insurance and making sure that we're buying the right kind of life insurance?
Absolutely. So let's start this. Can we all agree? And you all are family now, my Rock family. Can we all agree tonight? GoFundMe is not a life insurance policy.
Please,
Okay.
please
Can
help
we
us.
agree? GoFundMe is not a life insurance policy. That is not retirement planning. That is not, you do not want to leave your family with not only the grief of losing you, but now the grief of trying to figure out what to do with you. Do
Yes.
we cremate because we can't afford to bury? And it's one thing to cremate because that was the choice. But now, am I going to have to cremate because I can't afford the casket? I can't afford the ceremony. I can't. And let me also say, have these conversations before you lose your loved ones. There
Mm,
is nothing harder than trying to plan transition services, burying a loved one when it's unexpected and you have not taken the opportunity while they were with you to understand what their wishes are.
Yes.
Where do they want to be buried? What kind of what kind of funeral services do they want? Anybody in particular that you'd want to speak? How do you want to be dressed? How do those are things, those are details that can truly weigh on you at the most unfortunate time.
Yes.
Have the conversation now. I don't know what it is about our culture, but we think talking about death somehow hurries it up. I promise you it does not.
Mm.
Talk with your loved ones today about what their wishes are, not just for the funeral, but even on after that. Have that conversation now. Now, going back to, our conversation about retirement, rule of thumb is that you need about 70% of your pre-retirement yearly salary to live comfortably.
Mm.
That might be enough if you've paid off your mortgage and you're in excellent health when you retire. Like I said, as you get older, healthcare becomes a little more expensive, especially if you're in ailing health. But if you plan, if you're planning to do something like, well, when I retire, I also want to build my dream house. I
Mm.
want to travel around the globe, or I want to go back and get a terminal degree of something like that. You might need 100% of your annual income or even more. It really just depends on what is it that you plan to do after you retire. So it's important to make realistic estimates about what kind of expenses you'll likely have after retirement. Be
Mm.
honest about how you want to live. Some people get it wrong there because they think, oh, I only need to save this much, it's going to be fine. But your lifestyle says differently.
Mm.
You want to live like real housewives, right? But your budget says you're probably going to be in Shady Pines. So you need to make some decisions there. We need to align our
Yeah.
expectations and align our actions with those expectations. So you need to spend some time thinking about, how do I want to live after I retire? And
Yes.
so, one way to begin estimating your retirement costs, in addition to the fact that you can now find, and also on the CFPB website and several other banks offer it, there are retirement calculators. Ask you several questions. What's your mortgage? What do your bills look like? What do you kind of expenses do you expect to have after you retire? All that kind of stuff. It will spit back some very specific numbers for you. So it'll take a lot of the guesswork out of this equation.
Mm.
On the whole, you're going to look at, your retirement costs, take a look at what your current expenses are, look at the categories of expenses that you have, and estimate how that'll change. So for some, maybe your mortgage will be paid off by then. So you won't have to factor in a mortgage payment into your post-retirement expenses. If
Mhm.
you're retired, maybe you don't have commuting cost anymore. You're not traveling back and forth to work. So maybe you'll be, lesser there. Then again, healthcare costs may have risen. So there are a number of things that you have to consider. And like I said, take advantage of the free retirement calculators to help you think through all the stuff you don't really think about.
Yeah.
And that will help you form a good financial outlook and give you a goal to set. That'll tell you, okay, I need to be thinking in that direction. So everything I do leading up to that, I can now organize my steps here.
Mhm. Mhm. That's good. So in terms of retirement and figuring out when to retire or what's right, is that something that you can get that information from a bank, or like where do you go to find that information out as well?
Definitely, you can talk with your financial advisors. Let them know, hey, listen, I'd love to retire early. I would love to be 55 and walk out of the marketplace and live the rest of my life. And they will say, okay, to do that, if you plan to live, let's say you plan to live, God promises 70, 10 more by strength, 80 years. Let's just get you to 80. You
Yes.
want to retire at 55, you want to make it to 80. Okay, you got about 25 years here. So you need to save X amount of money between now and then in order for you to make that life expectancy. And that's what a lot of this is about. It's about life expectancy. And
Mm.
that will tell you these are the tools that you need to leverage on your way to retirement, be it 401k, be it IRAs, be it whatever investment vehicles that you're going to use. Sit down with an advisor, let them know this is when I'd like to retire, and then they'll give you that picture, and then they may say, well, it looks like based on your situation today you've got about $2 in the bank. you're probably going to be working till closer to 70,
Mhm.
or we're going to have to find a way to be more aggressive with your saving potential between now and then. So talk with a professional and start today, yesterday, if possible. Don't wait to have these conversations. You need to start talking immediately so you can start working your plan.
Yes, that's good. So you talked a lot of, we talked a lot about a lot of different things, giving, tithing, budgeting, saving, telling your money where to go. I think that's amazing. What have you found to be a distinction in the characteristics between those people who they just talk about this is what they want to do versus those who put it into action? Like, how do we start to put that into action?
Absolutely. I find number one, people who actually write their plan down are much more likely to stick to it. If you have some plan up here, some abstract thought that I'd like to retire, I'd like to do this, but you haven't actually written the vision, made it plain, you're much more likely to fall off. And so I assure you, take the time to sit down. And like I said, if you're married, if this is a full family affair, talk with everybody who depends on your income. Talk with everybody who would be impacted by the loss of you. You all need to sit down and talk about, what do you want your financial future to look like? Are you happy with the way things are? And if you are, then what's your plan to continue to walk in that way? And if you're not happy with it, what is our plan as a family, right? What's my plan as wife, husband? What are you all going to do together? That's one of the pitfalls I've noticed with people who can't even stick to the basic budgeting, because there's a lack of commitment of all parties.
Mm,
Whoever is spending the money needs to agree on the money. You
that's
have to start there. How can two walk together lest they agree? So
good.
everybody that's spending my money needs to agree with me on my money and how we're going to handle this. So that's husbands, wives, kids, all of that. Let's come together in agreement with what our goal is. Let's all agree on what the prize is. What is the end goal? So we can get everybody's buy-in. We can get everybody's commitment that we are tracking the same way. We are going in the same direction at the same pace. Second thing, make sure, like I said, you write it down. It is very hard to communicate things that are abstract. My
Mm,
husband and I, we have a business meeting every month, and we're talking about our money every month. This
mm,
is what's in the account. This is how far off we may be. This is how far up we are. And I'm thanking God we're doing excellent this year. We are above goal, but we're continuing to track that. We are still having those conversations. We are above goal, but you know what? Let's stretch it a little bit more. I think we can get here. I think we can make a little bit more, but we can't do that if we're not talking to each other, if we're not both committed to seeing that thing happen. So talk, communicate oft.
yeah.
Okay. You need to set, we, like I said, we call them business meetings. Set time on your calendar. My husband literally blocks time on my calendar so we can sit down and we can talk to each other about what's happening in our money, what's happening in anything, what's happening with the church, what's happening with our money, what's happening with our business, what's happening with our kids. If it's worth you doing anything about, it's worth you scheduling time, put it on the calendar and commit to that. So
That's good.
those things distinguish the people that I've seen be successful, the ones with the plan, the ones documenting a plan, the ones talking about their plan and holding themselves to be accountable to that
Mhm,
plan.
mhm. That's good. I hear a lot of people talk about things like investing in stocks
Mhm.
and annuities, and sometimes we don't always know the ins and outs of that. Are you able to just give us an overview of like what's an annuity? What is it to invest in stock?
Yeah, so annuities can be complicated, but simplistically, an annuity is a contract between you and an insurance company. This is something that you've purchased from
Mm,
an insurance company. You pay for the annuity through either a lump sum or multiple payments. And the company uses a strategy to take what you've given to them to grow your assets. A variable annuity, because there are several different types. A variable annuity invests your money in different types of funds. Maybe it's mutual funds, that kind of deal.
mm,
A fixed annuity grows via a set interest rate, hence the name fixed. It's a fixed interest rate. And so that annuity is going to grow at that fixed rate. An indexed annuity earns returns based on the performance of the associated index. So that could go up or down, again, just depending on the overall performance in the market. However, growth only occurs, there are different phases of an annuity. Growth only occurs during what's called the accumulation phase of the annuity. This is the time that you're making payments. So during the phase of the annuity that you're making payments, that's the only time this annuity is actually going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
That's the time when it's going to grow, and the insurance company is going to attribute the returns to your account based on the type of annuity that you have. So if it's a fixed annuity, it's going to grow during that time at that fixed rate. If it's a variable annuity, it's going to grow specific to the types of funds that it's invested in. And then if it's indexed, it'll grow according to what the market rate is of that particular index at the time. So that's how that will work. Once you're ready to start receiving payments from your annuity, your contract will enter what's called the annuitization phase. You can receive payments in a variety of ways. You determine what that looks like. It can be monthly, it can be semi-annually, it can be annually, or one lump sum. So it's totally up to you how you get your money out of an annuity. Now, annuities come with a level of risk. That's something that, we have to weigh out there. Annuities, like most financial instruments, they're not without risk. Annual annuity payouts are based on your life expectancy. Because we have no way of knowing how long any of us will live, buying an annuity means accepting the risk that you won't necessarily reap the potential benefits from your purchase. Okay?
That's good to know.
Yes, that's something to consider when you purchase an annuity. Additional risks are going to be, there are different types of risks. So the first one being credit risk. This is the risk that the insured will become insolvent. So you can lose money in an annuity if the insurance company that's backing it goes bankrupt or defaults on its obligation. You can take steps to avoid that. But if it happens, you could potentially lose some of your account value. The additional riders that you can purchase to help protect it, kind of like FDIC insurance for your checking or savings accounts. You can purchase riders to help guarantee the amount of your annuity, but they are incredibly expensive. So you have to weigh that with, is the juice worth the squeeze, is what they say at the table with the regulators. You have to kind of make that decision for yourself. There's also something called purchasing power risk. That's the risk that inflation will be higher than the annuity's guaranteed rate. Right now, our economy is in a state of pretty high inflation. So for people who hold annuities right now, they might be losing money. Or if they're ready to receive payouts, they may try to hold off because the value of that annuity is substantially lower than what it was before we got into this. Somebody is speaking my love language. I saw a question about crypto. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Liquidity risk is the next thing for annuities, and that's the risk that the funds will be held up for years with little ability to access them. So if you are investing in an annuity, be sure that this is money that you can afford to not see again. I think our pastor calls it FU money. If you don't have FU money, this is probably not for you. So just consider that. And then there's also surrender risk, and that is that covers losses that you could incur if you have to surrender the annuity or withdraw the funds too early. And so there are heavy penalties for that. So, and again, the main risk to this is going to be the risk of death. And that is because annuities really are the complete opposite of life insurance. With life insurance, people bet that they'll die before the insurance company expects. So if they do, the insurance pays out, and that's how it works. Annuitants actually make the complete opposite. They wager that they're going to live longer than the insurance company expects. So if they die early, the insurance company actually gets to keep the premiums. If you die before the end of that term, they get to keep the premiums that you paid, and they also get to keep the income that it generated when they purchased it. So the only way to prevent your heirs from losing income is to purchase that additional rider that I talked about, and it's quite expensive. So you have to weigh all of that when you consider purchasing an annuity. Now, there are benefits to it. Annuities do generally carry less risk than some stocks and bonds options, if it's executed under the right circumstances. So you need to be aware of what's happening in the market. You need to make sure you've got good FU money. All of the stars need to be aligned. And then, yes, it is a safer investment than just a individual stock or bond.
Okay.
Um, and the main advantage of annuities is their ability really to provide the contract owners with a lifetime of guaranteed income.
Mm.
Immediate annuities, that's another classification. Immediate annuities, they allow someone entering retirement to augment their sources of income. So you can take it at retirement to replace the income that you lost when you entered retirement, or you can wait until later. You can wait until your IRA is exhausted. You have options there on what you want your payout to look like.
That is awesome. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. This has been absolutely incredible. You are such a blessing to the kingdom of God, such an asset to the kingdom, and just your wealth of knowledge and experience. Thank you for sharing with us tonight. We are all so much richer and better because you have spoken into our lives financially, empowering us, making us financially fluent. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Lady Pitts. We love and appreciate you. Rock Church, can you please go crazy in the chat and let Lady Pitts know how much we appreciate her? Before we go, and this will be our this is how we'll go out. Before we go, can you talk to us about your thoughts on the crypto? Because we're interested to hear you mention that.
Yeah, so I mentioned really early on, we had the two bank collapse, right? Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Both of those were heavily implicated by crypto, their crypto adjacent client base, and crypto investments. Now, the third bank that's made an announcement that it's going to begin shuttering operations is also the main investor for crypto. So I
Mm.
would say this: anybody considering investing in crypto, one of the regulators that I work with, she said, consider crypto 3 Mile Island for the foreseeable future. And if you know anything about 3 Mile Island, that was a radioactive meltdown that happened that wiped out an entire city. So I would not invest in crypto right now. Just about every bank collapse, including the one that happened in New York, all crypto adjacent. Crypto was not the main reason, but they are crypto adjacent. And the main crypto providers, FTX, went bankrupt. And as a matter of fact, the founder is on trial. He was arrested for money laundering, which was one of the main concerns related to cryptocurrency.
Mm.
So right now, crypto is a very hot topic. As a matter of fact, crypto providers are having a very hard time finding sponsor banks because they still have to have a bank in order to move the money back and forth and do the conversions in the exchanges. They're having a hard time finding sponsor banks to support their operations. So many of them are closing as it is anyway. So it's not a forever leave it alone, but I would definitely leave it alone for right now. And like I said, unless you've got a good pile of FU money, you don't care what happens to it, you don't ever have to see it again, I would not include that in any strategy right now. It's definitely going more so black market, the black web. It's very high right now there. And we're seeing a lot more in terms of money laundering and nefarious dealings associated with it because all of the legitimate sources are drying up for crypto. So regulators are right on top of it. The SEC is involved. The FDIC is involved from a bank perspective. Just about every regulator in the United States is on top of this. So this is not where you want your money to be right now.
Mm. Wow. Wow, Lady Pitts, this is good. This is like that. Go back and listen to it on the replay and take notes and pause and all of that. I mean, you poured yourself out tonight. We appreciate you for your gift, your experience, just your knowledge, everything that you gave to us. Thank you so much. You got to come back and hang out with us. They're
I
already
will be back. Yes, just
part
let
two.
me know. I'll be back.
Yes, we would love it. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, Lady Pitts. Listen, Rock Church, get ready right now to show your appreciation. She just poured out in 45 minutes what would take 45 years of study to acquire. She's an expert in her field. Let's do it tonight. It is giving time. Can you just go ahead and put some fire in the chat for our opportunity to return our tithe, to sow into what we heard this evening. Let's show Lady Pitts our gratitude for her taking time out of her busy schedule and sharing her expertise with us. To have someone like that in the kingdom of God, so brilliant, so wise and full of knowledge, to share with us this evening was absolutely priceless. I told you at the beginning that I hesitated to even ask her because she is such a heavyweight in her field, and for her to just be so kind and gracious and accept our invitation, we want to make sure that we show her our appreciation for that. So listen, go ahead and text TRCBA to 77977. TRCBA to 77977. Visit the rockchurchbayarea.org and click give that way. Let us know that you are sowing. Let us know that you are giving and making sure that we show our appreciation. Because listen, when you go sit down with these financial advisors, the level of information that you desire to get from them, you would have to pay for what it is that she gave us tonight. And she did it so freely and so kindly. And it is anointed information. You can tell that she has been anointed for this field. So thank you so much, Lady Pitts. God bless you. And please make sure, Rock Church, that you take this opportunity and the time to give. We are praying tonight. Our very own Sister Candy, we want her to know how much we love her, how we are praying and lifting up her family as they had a tragic loss of her sister, Dr. Calandra Green. Our hearts and our prayers are with that entire family, our Rock, Michigan family. We want you to know that we appreciate you for being so faithful and being on tonight. We know that you all have been supporting Sister Candy, and so we just lift you all up and believe God to surround you with his love and his grace. And then we are praising God for our own brother Canandre, who had a successful surgery today. Can we give God great praise for just being a protector, a coverer, for bringing him through successfully? He and Sister Amanda are actually at the hospital, and they're in the chat tonight. They're in the chat tonight. So we want to celebrate them, and we want to go back and tell God thank you, because we were lifting him up in prayer. So just make sure that you keep the both of them in your prayers, Sister Candy's family and Brother Canandre, as he recovers. Thanks so much for rocking with us tonight, Rock Church, Rock Nation, all of our visitors and guests. We're so grateful that you were with us this evening. We had an amazing time. This has just been a great series. Listen, this coming Sunday, we are continuing our Flourish Her series. But guess what? Ladies, we having a party, y'all. We are having a Flourish Her Day party, and it is getting ready to go down. Let's celebrate our evolution. If you were at church the Sunday before last, Pastor Chris preached a powerful message. He had the men come up, and I promise you that something broke off of all the women in the room in the realm of the spirit. And I said, let's go celebrate what God is doing in our lives. And so whether you are new to the Rock Church, whether you have been with us since the very beginning, I want us to get together as women of God and have an amazing time. So the link is in the chat for you to go and register. We have already had so many people to register. Do not miss out on this opportunity. I don't want it to sell out and you weren't able to make it. Click that link right now. We are going to have some good food. We're going to laugh. We're going to have some connection activities, get to know one another as sisters. It is going to be absolutely amazing. I cannot wait. It's party time, y'all. That's right, Deaconess Janice. I am just excited about it. Sister Tamia, me too. We having a church day party. Yes, we are. Let's go and wear your bright, chic attire. Wear your bright, chic attire to the party. God bless you so much tonight, Rock Church. I love each and every one of you, and we cannot wait to see you this coming Sunday for our worship experience as we continue this Flourish Her series, The Evolution of Esther. God bless you. Have a great night.